So you just got orders at NAS Pensacola, and every realtor you find online says they are a military relocation professional. Let me tell you a little secret. That's a 6-hour certification course that my grandma could take. It doesn't mean that they are a PCS expert. It doesn't mean that they understand the nuances of getting orders 30 days before you're supposed to move, or not being able to get a hold of the TMO office, or for that matter, what TMO even means. It doesn't mean that they understand how to communicate with a housing office to decide if you want to live in 1950s crappy base housing or if you want to move off base. What it does mean is that they took a course so they could put a certification at the bottom of their email. That's where we come in. I'm Caleb Drake with the Be More Group at Levin Rinke Realty, and I have 19 years of military experience, and I PCS'd to this area twice. And we agents at the Be More Group were active duty veterans or still serving and who understand the nuances of the PCS timelines, VA loans, and all the chaos that a quick PCS brings to you and your family. And this video isn't a sales pitch. It's a complete guide to help you make the right decisions when you move to NAS Pensacola. I'm gonna give you BAH rates for your rank, break down every neighborhood within 35 minutes of base. We'll talk about school ratings, crime rates, and go over crime maps, and drive times to and from NAS Pensacola. All right, guys, let's dive in. Okay, before we get into neighborhoods and BAH rates, let me give you a quick lay of the land. NAS Pensacola is on the northwestern tip of the Florida Panhandle, just north of the Pensacola Bay, and only around 20 minutes east of the state line to Alabama. It's the home of naval aviation, the Blue Angels, and it's where most Navy, Marine, and Coast Guard aviators start their training. You've also got Corey Station right there on the NAS Pensacola complex, and that's where a lot of IT and cryptological training happens. The base is huge. It's not just one gate. You've got the main gate off Blue Angel Parkway, and you've got the back gate that leads out to Perdido and Perdido Key. All right, so who's here? Well, obviously we have the Navy, we have the Marine Corps, and NAS Pensacola has at least one member of every branch, except I've actually never seen anybody from the Space Force. But what's the reality? Most people PCS to NAS Pensacola for training. They've got flight schools, A schools, C schools, or other follow-on trainings that the Air Force may call something different. Some are here for 6 months, some are here for 2 to 3 years, and some get stationed here for a majority of their career. The market here is very familiar with military buyers, and that's an advantage for you. Realtors, lenders, inspectors, everybody knows what to expect when it comes to VA loans and how to navigate them. That's good and bad. It means that the process is smooth, but it also means that you can be taken advantage of when you're in a hurry. That's what I'm going to try to help prevent. So what we'll do now is I'll break down some of the neighborhoods and I'll just chime in with like what ranks can afford to live in these areas based on the BAH rates that you'll receive. All right, first, let's address the elephant in the room, and that's the neighborhoods right out the front gate. A lot of military members get to NAS Pensacola and resort to just living close to base due to the conveniences. But let me break down the neighborhoods outside of NAS Pensacola and really give you the truth data of what you can expect. Again, I can't legally steer you away from any neighborhood, but I just want to give you the information that you need to make the right decision for you and your family. I'm going to talk to you about Warrington, Bellevue, and West Pensacola, the areas more or less outside of the front gate. These neighborhoods are between 5 and 15 minutes from the front gate. The homes are older, but you can buy a home between $200,000 and $300,000 very easily. But there is a reality when it comes to crime, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Crime rates in Warrington and West Pensacola are significantly higher than the majority of the city. And we're talking property crime, some violent crime, and just areas that you wouldn't want to walk around at night. And you can see on the screen the crime maps and what to expect in this area based on the data that I'm presenting. And these crime maps show that these areas have a lot higher crime than areas like Cantonment, Beulah, Cordova, and some of the other areas around Pensacola. But guys, I'm not saying that everyone has issues. There are really nice pockets and neighborhoods in this area that are great for military. I just want you to be aware of what is around the base and what you can expect. All right, guys, next let's talk a little bit about schools before we break down different neighborhoods. Here's the reality when it comes to schools in Escambia County. Escambia County schools have a 3.6 stars and B rating on niche.com. That's not terrible, but it's not great either. There are better schools in the area, and we'll talk about those later. Elementary schools in Warrington and West Pensacola tend to struggle more than schools in the rest of Escambia County. And the high school in this area is in the bottom 50% for Florida. So just keep that in mind if you have kids and you're moving to the area. But what's the trade-off? Why do people live in this area? Well, like I said, you're between 5 to 10, maybe 15 minutes from the base in these areas. Homes are $50,000 to $100,000 cheaper around the front gate of NAS Pensacola compared to other areas in the city. And convenience. You're close to base, you're close to the NEX, the Military Navy Hospital, and everything else that you need. And realistically, you're very close to downtown as well. So if you're single, you're here for 6 months, you're looking to couch surf, out the front gate isn't going to be a bad choice for you. But if you have a family with kids, you may think about moving a little bit further away. And again, I'm not legally allowed to steer you away from the neighborhood. I just want you to have the data so you can make the decision for yourself. All right, next, let's talk about the back gate, Perdido and Perdido Key. So Perdido and Perdido Key are out the back gate of NAS Pensacola and are between 5 and 15 minutes to the back gate, and realistically, most parts of the flight line if you're a flyer. It's a quiet residential area with not a ton of entertainment. It only has a few restaurants and bars, but the convenience to the back gate and the beaches is phenomenal. So what do you get in Perdido? You get single family homes from $300,000 to $500,000, some on a golf course, some not. You can have some waterfront or water view properties. And like I said, it's quieter, family friendly. And the big thing you get are the access to the Perdido Key beaches and Johnson Beach, which is a national seashore. And next we'll talk about drive times from Perdido. Obviously to NAS Pensacola, it's between 5 and 15 minutes depending on where you live. From downtown, you're around 25 to 30 minutes on a good day, and that's if you don't get behind traffic. Whiting Field, you're over an hour away. You're out the back gate, you have to go around NAS Pensacola or through NAS Pensacola and all the way across Pensacola into Milton just to get to Whiting Field. So if you are dual military working at Whiting and NAS Pensacola, I don't recommend Perdido Key. And lastly, I forgot to mention the schools. So the schools out the back gate are decent and they do fall within that B rating that Escambia County has earned. So just look into the schools if you're interested in this area or hop on a call and we'll talk more in detail. So what's the reality here? Well, Perdido is great if you're assigned to NAS Pensacola, you just want to be close to the beach and you're not worried about being close to downtown or any of the other amenities that Pensacola has to offer. But like I said, Perdido is not a good fit for dual military at NAS Pensacola and Whiting Field, just due to drive times. And it's not good if you want access to downtown and the nightlife that brings. So if you're single and you're planning on going out a lot, Perdido's not the place I would live. And trust me, I actually know personally because I lived out the back gate of NAS Pensacola when I was going to flight school here back in 2014. Okay, so now let's move east around 25 to 30 minutes from NAS Pensacola and talk about everything on the east side of the city. I'm gonna cover areas like East Hill, Pensacola Heights, Cordova, and even Ferry Pass. So East Pensacola covers a broad area of downtown, and I'm going to treat it very similar just due to the price point and the time that we have for this video. But I'm gonna do a breakdown of each one of these neighborhoods on later videos, so just look in our video list and you'll be able to find breakdowns of neighborhoods that may interest you. Okay, so what you're going to get in this area will be homes around $280,000 up to $500,000, or in areas like East Hill, you can have homes $750,000 to $2 million. When you get into areas like Ferry Pass, you've got homes from $300,000 to $500,000. Some older homes you can get for a little bit cheaper. Then you get up into Cordova and you get into Ferry Pass. So Cordova is going to be around the mall. You're going to get a lot of older ranch style homes, a lot of parks in this area, and you're looking at around $350,000 to $450,000 depending on the size of the home you're looking to buy. When you get up a little bit further north of that, you get into Ferry Pass. Ferry Pass has a lot of different homes and a lot of different styles of homes. So you have very nice newer HOA style neighborhoods and then a lot of older neighborhoods without HOAs that you can get significantly cheaper homes. These areas are great for dual military, splitting the difference between NAS Whiting Field and NAS Pensacola. And drive times are going to vary depending on where you are. So if you're in the Ferry Pass Cordova area, you're looking at a 25+ minute drive to NAS Pensacola and probably close to the same to NAS Whiting Field. As you get closer to downtown, you're gonna see the drive to NAS Pensacola decrease, but that drive to Whiting Field will increase. So if you are just going to be stationed at NAS Pensacola, then you can expect around a 30-minute drive from Ferry Pass and Cordova. You can expect around a 20 to 25-minute drive from Pensacola Heights, and around a 20-minute drive from East Hill, just depending on traffic. There is some road construction going on right now that may hinder some of those times, but hopefully by the time that you PCS here, that construction will be done. All right, so let's talk about crime next. East Pensacola has lower crime rates than West Pensacola and Warrenton. You're in safer neighborhoods with less property crime and fewer incidents overall. Crime maps show East Pensacola performing better than areas near the gate, though it's still not as low as Gulf Breeze or Pace. And as far as schools go, you do have better schools in this area, and we actually will have a full deep dive video on schools for Pensacola. Okay, and the third area that we're gonna talk about is going to be the northwest portion of Pensacola, where you have areas like Beulah, Cantonment, and what a lot of locals will call 9 Mile. And this is where you're gonna be a little bit further from base, but you're gonna get a lot of house and a lot lower crime rates. So let's dive in. Beulah is just northwest of Pensacola and nearly due north of the base. So what will you get in this area? Well, Beulah has homes and new builds from around the $300,000 to $400,000 range. So you can get a brand new home for under $350,000. It does have a mix of older homes with larger lots if you're looking for a little bit of land, or homes with a little more character. It has a suburban, semi-rural feel, and if I'm being honest, you can get a lot of house in Beulah for a good price. One of the nice things about this area is the area is building up because the Navy Federal Credit Union main campus is in that area. And you have access to 9 Mile Road, which has a ton of new commercial development always going in. And next, your drive times. So to NAS Pensacola from the Beulah area, you're looking at about 30 minutes, and you really only have 1 or 2 ways to get to the base. And to Whiting Field, you're probably looking at around 40 minutes, maybe more. Downtown Pensacola, you're looking at around 30 minutes, and if you're trying to get to the beach, you're at least 30, maybe 45 minutes away. And next, we'll talk about crime. So crime in this area is significantly lower than most. Beulah has significantly lower crime rates, and you can see that on the maps. The schools in this area are great, and Tate High School is one of the best in the area. And then let's talk a little bit about 9 Mile Road. If we're talking about Beulah and Cantonment, we need to talk about 9 Mile Road. 9 Mile Road is exploding with commercial development. You've got new shopping centers, restaurants, grocery stores, and services popping up constantly. It's developing. Every time I go up there, I see something new. And like I said, the Navy Federal Credit Union campus is also located in this area. And if you are military with a spouse, Navy Federal Credit Union hires a ton of military dependents. Okay, next, let's talk about Cantonment. So Cantonment is a little bit further north, closer to I-10, and actually closer to the southern state line of Alabama. What you get in this area is a lot of land and a lot of house. Homes from $300,000 to $400,000. They can range in very large size, and you can get some really nice neighborhoods up there, but you are going to pay for it with the drive to base. Your drive to base is going to be around 40 minutes. Your drive to downtown is going to be 30 plus minutes, and your drive to Whiting Field is going to be 40 minutes as well. So you're really not conveniently located to anything, but you do have a lot of benefits of living in this area. So first we talked about the size of the homes and the land that you can buy up in this area, but also we'll talk about the schools and the crime rates. Cantonment has very low crime. It's very rural, so you're not going to see a lot of the same problems you would in the more dense city areas of Pensacola. Tate High School has one of the best reputations in Escambia County for schools, and this area's feeder schools are also great as well. Next, we're going to go into the adjacent county and talk about Pace and Gulf Breeze. So first, we'll talk about Pace. In my opinion, Pace is a hidden gem if it's what you're looking for. So Pace is going to be just northeast of Pensacola, across the 90 bridge from Ferry Pass. What I like about Pace is that you can continue to get newer builds for very good prices, and the location is actually pretty close to a lot of things. So what you get in this area are gonna be new builds in the $300,000 range. D.R. Horton, a major home builder in this area, offers a ton of incentives for military buyers, and they're building up to 900 homes in the Pace area. A fun fact about Pace, in the last 20 years, it has grown from 5,000 people to over 25,000 people, and the commercial development has actually kept up. So when you're talking about Pace, your drive time to NAS Whiting Field is gonna be 20 to 25 minutes, but your drive to NAS Pensacola is gonna be closer to around 35 to 40 minutes, just depending on where you live in the city. The schools are a big draw for people moving to the area. Santa Rosa County has some of the best schools in Florida, and Pace doesn't disappoint. Pace High School is ranked number 229th in Florida, which is in the top 30%. It's one of the best public high schools in the region. The elementary and middle schools in Pace are also A-rated, so if you have kids and schools are a priority, Pace may actually be the answer that you're looking for. It's affordable with great schools. So this area is going to appeal to families or military that know they're going to split the difference between NAS Whiting Field and NAS Pensacola. What you're gonna get are better schools, newer homes, lower crime, and enough commercial development to really be able to live and enjoy where you're at. Okay, lastly, we're gonna talk about Gulf Breeze. So Gulf Breeze is where I live, and I'm willing to make the drive for the quality of life and the schools. Gulf Breeze is the premium option, and I'm not just saying that because I live there. Gulf Breeze is going to be across 3 Mile Bridge into Santa Rosa County, and is about a 20 to 25 minute drive to NAS Pensacola. As you go further east into Gulf Breeze, you get into what we call Tiger Point, and that's gonna be around 35 to 40 minutes, potentially 45 minutes in the morning if you do hit some of the downtown traffic or the school zones in Gulf Breeze proper. But homes in this area are either going to require dual military or higher military ranks because they are very expensive. So homes in Gulf Breeze are gonna run between $450,000 up to $1 million depending on where you're at. You can get homes in the Tiger Point area for the high 3s, but you're mostly going to be in the 4s or 5s. Gulf Breeze has a ton of waterfront and water view living, and the quality of life is amazing. It has a small town vibe, very military friendly, but you're far enough from base that you don't feel like you're always at work. And one great thing about Gulf Breeze is you're actually closer to Pensacola Beach than you are if you live in Pensacola. So the only place that you would be closer to a beach if you lived in Pensacola would be in the Perdido area, and that's because you have Perdido Key and Johnson Beach just over the bridge. Okay, so let's talk about crime. We're gonna bring up a crime map, but you'll see that crime in Gulf Breeze is very low comparatively. And when you get over into Tiger Point, it also paints the same picture. Schools here are top rated and some of the best in the state. Santa Rosa County is one of the top school districts in the state of Florida, and Gulf Breeze is one of the reasons why. So if you have the BAH for it, you're either dual military or just a higher officer rank, I would recommend considering Gulf Breeze for both quality of life, schools, and the drive to the beach. And if you look at my other video about why I love Gulf Breeze, I've got about 30 minutes of just talking about how amazing it is. I'm a fanboy. All right, guys, just to wrap this up and try to keep it from going forever. So we've talked about the areas adjacent to base, Bellevue, Warrington, and West Pensacola. And we also talked about Perdido and Perdido Key. We gave a little bit of information about the east side of Pensacola and the northwest side. And then we talked about the adjacent county, Santa Rosa County, and that's going to be Pace and Gulf Breeze. So all of these areas have a little bit of a different personality, and our videos will explain each area in depth. So if you're looking for a specific area, just reach out to us and we can send you any information that you need. And again, we're realtors with the Be More group at Levin Rinke Realty, and we aim to be more than just agents. We aim to help educate you on the local area and help you make the right decision for you and your family. So reach out at the phone number or the email below, or if you want to book a call, just click the link in the description and set up a time to get on our calendar. We'll talk about numbers, location, timelines, lenders, anything that you need to be successful in purchasing on the Emerald Coast. Thanks for watching. Reach out in the comments, like, subscribe. If you have any questions, just hit us up and we'll be glad to help.